so he's eating a lot of the people's shit. That's what he's doing. He's just eating shit
Yeah,
on and
yeah,
off the
yeah.
field for Milan to be successful. And I think Milan fans need to realize that and appreciate the shit that he's eating.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of guys want to do that.
I don't think he wants to do it. He's just doing it. He just been forced into doing it. Ciao ragazzi, welcome back. On today's episode of Calcio Culture, we're going to be discussing match week number 7, which was a pretty weak weekend. We saw a total of 11 goals. There were 4 0-0 games, but there were a couple notable results, Mats, weren't there?
Yes, we had Nico Paz balling out versus Juventus with a goal and assist. We had Rafael Leao scoring his first goal in the San Siro since May 25th of 2024, and he actually scored 2. We had Simeone scoring again for Torino to lead them to another 1-0 win, this one against Napoli. We have Boni continuing his form as he gets the lone goal versus Roma at the Stadio Olimpico. And we had Riccardo Orsolini putting himself on the top of the Capocannoniere race with his 5th goal of the season, leading Bologna to another win. I do agree with you. It was more so a lackluster weekend in terms of goals. However, still an exciting weekend and big results really shifting the table, which is always fun to do or fun to watch on a Calcio weekend.
It was. The race is exciting. It's still really close. This is Vos here, guys. Again, that was Mott. Before we get into it, we have one quick shout out. We got a Paisan of the week, a new subscriber. He's been commenting on a lot of stuff. So huge shout out. Sempre Milan 5, commenting all over YouTube, letting us know he subscribed, setting a great example for all the Paisans out there listening. Please follow his example, subscribe, shoot us some comments, 5 stars on Spotify. We really need that. So keep it rolling. Paisan of the week, Sempre Milan 5. So shout out him. Mats, let's get into it. Biggest matchup of the weekend. Inter Milan at Roma. Like you said, 1-0 game. Inter steal 3 points at the San Siro or at the Stadio Olimpico off of the back of a goal from Ange Boni, a guy who's really been flying. I think the entire Inter front line has been flying. 2 really different ways of looking at this game. We're going to talk about it from the Roma perspective. We're going to talk about it from the Inter perspective. From a tactical standpoint, before we get into it, there's a couple things that I noticed in this game that I do want to mention. To start with, I think Gasperini is in his own head. When he plays Inter, he doesn't know what to do. It is kind of panic, and he's trying to win. And he did a weird thing. And at the very beginning of the game, I thought it was weird. Evan Ndika has been the left center back for Roma for basically all of last season and going into the season. Mario Hermoso has been the right center back this season. In this game, he swapped the 2 of them. I don't know why he did it. What I think it was put Ndika on the side of DeMarco to try to nullify what DeMarco's been doing. That's the only thing I can think of. Why is this important? The 1 goal in this game comes from Mario Hermoso sprinting out of the back line to press Nicolo Barella, and he's super late getting there. He was kind of man-marking Barella the whole game. What happens? He is late. He's doing the man-marking that Gasperini's supposed to do. I don't think he was supposed to go in this situation. What happens? Barella plays a ball right over the top of him to Boni. Goal comes from there. I think that's a very important note. A little bit of a Gasperini overthinking it. I don't know why he got away with it from working. On the Inter Milan side of things, very impressed with this Inter performance. I think Kivu is showing things that Inzaghi never did. And when we go back to what Inzaghi was doing very poorly, Inter sitting in a low block, they did not play well when they got that. In this game, Inter were very comfortable without the ball. I was very impressed. They kind of played a higher line in the mid block, which they were able to do because Gasperini didn't play any real get in behind sort of attacker. He went Dybala, Pellegrini, Sule. Another one, I don't know if this was the game to try those 3. I think his Gasperini's thinking there was, let's try to win the midfield battle. We usually have 2 guys. All 3 of those guys are comfortable, can make it a 3v4 or a 4v3 or maybe like a 5v3 if they want to. Didn't really work. I think Roma had a lot of the ball. I don't think it was very good possession. For me, it was more of the same, though. Not creating a lot of opportunities. Defense is good enough. They didn't really give up a lot of opportunities. But I think Inter saw this as if we get 1 goal against Roma, that might be enough. And they were really comfortable being in that shape. But we want to start with Roma here, Mats, because Logan's been saying it. This is kind of a result we probably should have seen coming. They have struggled to score goals. They've been decent at the back. So it's hard because you want to talk about Roma like being this should be like a disaster result in a little bit of a way. They need to get points at home if you're going to be in the Scudetto race, and they didn't do that. So what were your kind of like initial thoughts here? And I have some big questions for you.
Yeah, I think that because of the credit and what Gasperini did at Atalanta, a lot of us just thought, and the players that Roma have at in the clubhouse right now or in the locker room, we thought that it was going to be a kind of a marriage made in heaven, right? And they're going to hit the ground running and kind of continue what Ranieri was able to do last season, and they didn't lose a game since December. They were the clear best team in the league when Ranieri took over. But in reality, Gasperini plays a total different style of football than Ranieri, and it's demanding and it's taxing. And it takes a while for a new manager to come in and really have his style of play be effective, right? Gasperini was at Atalanta for 7 or 9 years, and he did wonders there, right? But it didn't happen all at once. And I think that's what the reality is for these Roma, right? It's a long-term project. Would it be great for Roma to get Champions League and challenge for the Scudetto first year? Yeah, 100%. But I think you need this is year zero, right? You need to
Yeah.
give Gasperini, the management, some time. Let Gasperini get more of guys that he wants in the locker room, because a lot of these guys are guys that he inherited, right? Now they're still good players, but they're not the kind of the guys that his team's going to go out and scout and request and get. So it's year zero. Is They're starting slower than we all anticipated, but I think we have to remember that maybe that's why it's not necessarily quote unquote working for Roma right now, because it's new. They're still trying to figure it out. I don't think necessarily they have the best players for a two-man midfield in Kone and Cristante. I think there needs to be a little bit more support there. I think a very, very good point that you made is Gasperini maybe being in his head just throwing a bunch of pasta at the wall and seeing if it's cooked, and if it sticks, it's cooked. If it's not cooked, it doesn't stick. And he's doing that with his front three, right? Today, or not today, this past weekend, where I thought they played very well. Sule, Dybala, Pellegrini, they are all the same player. All
Yeah.
three of them are the same exact player. So I don't know what one gives you that another one doesn't. They all offer the same thing. So he still clearly hasn't figured out the three up top, which we talked about time and time again. I think as Cristante has scored a goal, he's played well. He's not the guy, right? I think Kone is definitely can play in the pivot. He needs a better partner. And then they're lacking strength and depth on the center back position. So it's an incomplete team, and they're going to need some time to make it complete and then get the kind of Gasperini system under their belt. And so that's where I think where Roma's at. And if you think about it, like, okay, sure, it's not been the Gasperini lot of goals all the time, dominating games, but they're sitting fourth in the table.
Yeah,
They
one
only
point
have
off.
two
Yeah.
losses and they're 1 point away, and they've still allowed the least amount of goals in the season, right? So as much as Logan doesn't like the defense, and we do say like it's kind of lucky that they've only allowed 3 goals. Once again, they went up against Inter, who seem to put up 4 goals a game in the Champions League and the Serie A, who they're playing right now. They're in extremely good form. They go up against Roma and they score 1. So stuff is working. It's not all clicking right now, but once again, 7 games into the season.
I think that's the hard part about this, right? Like we watch every game, we come on here every week, and it's so hard not to like take a step back. Like we're 7 games in, they're 1 point off, and we're just like they're not quite as good as like that next group almost. And like we had them number 3 in power ranking, but now it's like after this performance of Inter, it's like is Inter just way better than everybody? And you've seen what they've been doing. So it is tough, but I the question that I kind of want to talk about, and you started with like what's different from Atalanta, and I think what you hit the nail on the head with was the midfield pairing, the midfield two. At Atalanta, it was Darun and Ederson, and it still is that, right? And
Was
after
Coop
watching this
Miners
game,
and Ederson at one
it
point as
was
well?
always in after watching this game, we all know how good Kone is. Cristante does good things, but we all know the player that he is. And I've been trying to figure out why isn't Kone hitting the levels? And kind of what I realized in watching the Atalanta game at the weekend and then watching this game is Ederson and whoever he is paired with are always busy. And whenever they get the ball, they're trying to their movement is intentional. With the ball, it's intentional. And I feel like Kone and Cristante are kind of they go through the motions. Like they get into the position to get the ball, but it isn't like sprint here to get the ball here to move the ball here or chase my guy down over here or run into this space because of this. It's more we're just taking up an area and we're not that important on the field. And I think that needs to change. And I don't know if that comes from a change of personnel or if Gasperini needs to get his ideas across more. But the more I'm looking at this, Manu Kone for 60 million, I don't think is the worst thing in the world. And last week I said he's so important to this team, but he's not really doing all that much right now. And I kind of think they need some fresh blood in the midfield. I've been calling out for Pizzilli. I think it would make a lot of sense. I even think playing Pizzilli as like a number 10 in this game would have made a lot of sense to kind of help with that press and just to do something a little bit different. But I think it's the midfield that something needs to change. And they just need legs. Like they need people that want more, that want to go and get the game. And Kone and Cristante aren't doing that.
I will say, though, they had bigger chances, in my opinion,
They
than
did.
Inter.
They did.
Dovbyk had an open goal that he kind of missed and put over the net, where you got to finish that as the number 9 or as the audition for the number 9, because Gasperini isn't your biggest fan. So you need to prove him wrong and earn the spot. You need to finish that. So it didn't go their way this game, right? On another day, maybe this is a 1-1 draw, right? I do think Roma deserved a draw here. But Inter's kind of been there, done that. Experience showed in this match, and that's how they executed their one big chance that they had where Roma didn't. I'd also just want to quickly shout out Jan Sommer did play very good in this game, making some big saves, and that's good for him because there's kind of a competition right now. We've seen him take a vast step back in some games, so I'm curious to see what that or how Kivu reacts to that, or who plays in goal there. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but a good game from him. Dovbyk missed a chance. I think Roma could have and did deserve a tie. On another day, maybe it happens today or last weekend it didn't.
Yeah, I think they had like a 15-minute spell in the second half where they were very, very dangerous at one point. But I think that's it on the Roma story right now. We're going to get more. I mean, every game we're seeing a different front three, but I think coming out of this game, the bigger story needs to be Inter Milan. And we can start kind of moving the conversation there. Since that crazy Juventus game that they lost, they now have the best goal differential in the league, the most goal scores in the league. They've won 7 games in a row across all competitions while conceding 2 goals. They're flying. Very simply, they are flying. Kivu has relayed whatever he's need to relay across everybody. They've got Jan Sommer playing well. They have literally every attacker playing well. That means Lautaro, Boni, Esposito, Thuram, and Frattesi played good today, actually, in the Champions League. He's kind of got Barella playing in a slightly different role, playing a little bit deeper down the field to help progress play, which seems to be working very well. They look exceptional. And I thought this game really showed their maturity. They can still kill a game, right? They did give up a couple chances, but Roma were never super dangerous to me. Inter felt very in control this game in that low block, like I was saying, like everybody had their job. In possession, they didn't try to take too many risks. They didn't create all that many chances, but they're just getting it done right now, I think, more than anybody else in being the most convincing team in the league in my mind. And should they be your new favorite to win the Scudetto at this point?
I mean, that's a tough question. So before I answer that question, I'm going to take a step back and kind of what I got from this game, and I'll even expand it. What I've taken away since this run Inter has been on, since that loss to Juventus, is one thing in particularly, and then this game makes the second. So the first is their depth is so much better than last season. Boni is the clear case of that. He has a goal and 4 assists, or 2 goals and 4 assists already in the season, and Taremi he didn't know where the goal was on the field last season. So right there is just a major upgrade. Sucic this season, the games he's played, he's been amazing, and he didn't even start this game, right? They went with their classic 3 of Hank, Hakan, and Barella. So then you have Carlos Augusta, who has been playing out of his mind when he's on the pitch. So their depth this season is a lot stronger than it was last season. So that's the first takeaway. The second takeaway is their mentality, I think, is shifting. This is a game last season where Inter let up that 80th minute goal. Maybe it was a little bit of luck, Dovbyk missing, but you need luck on your side to win. But this mentality here, and I know the Sassuolo game, it was kind of killed off. It was 2-0, and they let up the goal later on, so it was 2-1. But they went and killed that game in case they leaked a goal. It didn't matter, right? Like when they played Cagliari, it was 2-0. They killed that off, right? So they're killing games off, and if it's not totally killed off, they're not leaking goals in the back like they did so often under Inzaghi. So the depth and the mentality, and being locked in for 90 full minutes is what I'm seeing in these last 7 wins in a row from Inter. So, with that said, to answer the question, do I think they are the new favorites of the league? I think it's extremely hard to not make them one of the favorites. I'm not sure if they're the favorite, but what I will say, and I think that it's on us and it's on every single person that follows this league, them off the hook almost, because we gave too much credit to Inzaghi and how pretty they played. We didn't, not that I don't want to say we didn't give any credit to Kivu because he necessarily didn't deserves it because he hasn't done much, but we forgot how talented this Inter roster is at the top. Their players are Lautaro was in for a Ballon d'Or. Dumfries is the best wing back in the world. Barella is one of the best midfielders in the world. Bastoni is easily a top 3 center back in the world. Like you go through this name, you go through the team sheet and the names are insane. And so the player talent, us not or me in particular, because I should have had them higher and realizing it. They just have very good players all across the board, and they know how to play together. And it's just Kivu just kind of man managing right now and just not trying to do too much. He understands that, so they're right there with Napoli neck and neck. I think that I wouldn't like. Yes, they can be. I think right now I'm going to give the slight edge to Napoli right now, just because they won it last year, but they should be number 2 for sure, in my opinion. What do you think?
They're number one for me. I love everything they're doing. I think the thing that's kind of sneaky going under the radar is Akanji being on the right side of the field is a major, major, major upgrade.
Upgrade.
He is so good on the ball and then also offers so much defensively to cover up for things. And I think the other little piece of this that is becoming a storyline is Dumfries isn't having like an insane kind of start to the season. I think that's partially Kivu saying DeMarco is going to be more of the offensive wing back and Dumfries, you're going to be a little bit more conservative to try to cover up that issue on the field that we've all talked about, that right side of the field kind of being a problem. I think that parlayed with what it's Lautaro is like an every other year guy for whatever reason. Because I don't think much like things are different, but he's just playing so much better. And he's doing all when he had that insane season, it was one touch passing, one touch finishing, creative movement. And he's doing all of that. And all of those things that Lautaro's doing is helping Bony get his chances, helping Esposito get his chances. In the Champions League game today, Lautaro dropped an insane performance. But
So
he's
did
getting
Dumfries.
and and Dumfries, and he's getting everything right in everybody kind of playing their best ball. And then on top of that, this 3-5-2 that has been there just sets you up for success no matter what, because you're always covered defensively in counterattacks. Like you're always kind of going to have numbers. And as you watch like other games throughout the week and at the weekend, I think particularly with Juventus, they got killed on counterattacks and they were like always outnumbered. It was like a 2v2 or a 3v2. And Inter are never really in that situation. It's such controlled football. And now when they're on the ball, like they're still counterattacking exceptionally well, but there's so much on the ball now with Barella being more of a creator rather than like a top of the box goal scorer, that everything is moving in the right direction. And this is kind of more controlled football than we saw under Inzaghi. And Inzaghi was able to get this team so far with that creativeness and fluidity, but maybe that isn't what they needed to hit the highest levels of having control of games the entire time, being comfortable without the ball, being comfortable with the ball, and being able to just dominate in all areas. And that's why for me they're the best. They should be the favorite. And I think also another kind of random one is Jan Sommer's balling out right now. And that was a big problem last year that probably led to them not winning the Scudetto.
Well, I think credit. I think that any manager in that position would have made the switch. But I'm going to credit Kivu here, right? Instead of riding out Summer after that Juventus game, he made the substitution, and Martinez played well. And so Summer seeing that and he's not ready to give up his spot yet. So he needs to prove he's still the number 1. And Kivu's got the friendly competition in the clubhouse, in the locker room. So that's a great job there. You could have just let Summer start the next game to make him mentally known, like, hey, you don't have nothing to worry about. He didn't do that. He started Martinez, and Summer was like, I'm worried. I don't want to lose this spot. I see what we can do. I want to be the guy. So he has to prove it, and he's doing that as well. And then when he puts in Martinez, it doesn't drop off, and that goes once again to what I said before. The depth of this team at all 4 levels is crazy. Thuram is a little unhealthy right now. He has a knock, which is why Bonnie got the start. I don't necessarily go straight to Thuram when he comes
I'm
back.
definitely not. I'm
I'm a big
definitely not.
advocate of you ride out the man, the informed man, right? You ride out his form. And Bonnie is informed. Kivu knows him from Parma. I don't see Thuram's a great player. I'm not saying Boney took his spot, but you play him for now until he kind of cools down, and then you go back to Thuram and you sprinkle him in, and then Esposito as well. You got to keep getting him in. He scored his first Champions League goal. The ceiling's very high for him. The depth is different this year for Inter.
Yeah, taking it just to talk about Bunny before we move on, because I think we've kind of talked about Inter a lot here, but how good can he be? Because it's kind of like he's second fiddle still to Thuram, which I think is fair. Like what Thuram has done at Inter has been exceptional, but Boney is such a complete forward that I don't even know how you necessarily drop him, because as good as Thuram is and does everything, I think Boney is more complete. Like you could almost play him as like an attacking midfielder if you wanted, or as a true wide winger, and I could see him being successful in both of those areas.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Thuram's still a better player overall. I think he's more complete. I think where Boney has the step up, which it could help, is he's better at link up play back to goal than Thuram, and that's needed sometimes, occasionally, and I think that's why he's thriving with this team. But you have four extremely good options now up top. You have 5 or 6 very good midfielders in Mkhitaryan, Barella, Fertezi, Hakan, and Sucic. The center back pairing now, right, as you mentioned, Akanji, Bastoni, De Vrij, and Bissek, and Achirbi's the 5th guy now. I mean, it's scary over here.
Yeah, very scary. Yeah, but that's Inter Milan. We're going to keep watching them. I mean, I don't expect anything to change soon. But wanted to kick it over to another big conversation. One of the other teams we were just talking about is Napoli. Napoli lost at the weekend to Torino in Turin, 1-0 off of a Gio Simeone goal. It was kind of a weird goal, kind of came out of nowhere. Big storylines in this one was a loss, but it was also Napoli struggling to score goals. Could have been an isolated incident, but you fast forward to yesterday they played, right? Tuesday they played Champions League football. They lost to PSV Eindhoven 6-2. Really uncharacteristic performance. A lot of weird things going on in Naples. A lot of weird things going on with Conte. At the weekend, he played a back 4. Against PSV, it was, sorry, I'm getting these mixed up. Against PSV, it was a back 3. Back 4? Against PSV, it was a back 4. Against Torino, it was really a back 3 on paper. It was a 4-1-4-1, but that's not what it looked like. So tinkering, not quite getting it right. Napoli leaking a lot of goals. That paired with some of the off-the-field stuff that is now happening. Antonio Conte has been very vocal. He's talking about how they signed maybe too many players, and then he's now getting into beef with Noah Lang, which whether or not that's warranted, I don't know why Noah Lang's talking personally. I don't think he's big enough of a player to say he has to be playing. But a lot of negative things going on in Naples right now. That being said, they're still tied for second in the league, 1 point off of first place. But it seems like something needs to change very quickly, or this could spiral out of control into one of those. What happened last time they won the Scudetto? They won, and then they came in, 8th or 9th place? And
11th.
Things started well. There is injuries. Like, we still have to keep that in mind. There's no Romelu Lukaku. I think Højlund is out still, or was he suspended?
Rachmani.
Yeah, there's just a lot of weird injuries going on. But at the same time, like, his best lineup is still one of the best lineups in the league. And the question marks have really been what they are doing defensively. And it seems like that's almost getting worse.
Yeah. Okay. First thing that I want to talk about here is Antonio Conte coming out and saying we signed too many players, because the big headline or the big news when they won the Scudetto was fully Conte was out of Napoli and was coming to Juve. Like, you saw it on the pitch when Antonio De Laurentiis went on the pitch. Conte barely acknowledged him. He didn't want anything to do with him. De Laurentiis convinced him to stay because Conte said, I'll stay if we spend money, we buy players that I want, and we bring in more talent. So now that you're turning around and saying we have signed too many guys is a pathetic excuse. First thing that I want to talk about here is Antonio Conte coming out and saying we signed too many players, because the big headline or the big news when they won the Scudetto was fully Conte was out of Napoli and was coming to Juve. Like, you saw it on the pitch when Antonio De Laurentiis went on the pitch. Conte barely acknowledged him. He didn't want anything to do with him. De Laurentiis convinced him to stay because Conte said, I'll stay if we spend money, we buy players that I want, and we bring in more talent. So now that you're turning around and saying we have signed too many guys is a pathetic excuse, because it's a luxury to have too many players, and it's on you as the manager to be able to put the pieces in place to get the best out of everybody. And so him saying that is, in my opinion, is a cop out because he asked for it, and now it's time to execute on what you wanted because you asked for it and you were given it, right? Lukaku went down, we got you a new striker, we got you De Bruyne, we got you a new center back. So don't we got you a winger. Don't blame that. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I think it's clear here. Scott McTominay is being played not in his best position. And this, we talked about it a little bit a couple episodes. This 4-1-4-1 makeshift isn't working. It doesn't click for whatever reason. It's because it's Scott McTominay, although they got blown out yesterday. I think they played. Scott McTominay was the guy who scored 2 goals. Like, you got to play him in his spots, let him be the kind of the attacking midfielder. I know the sexy player is De Bruyne, but you got to figure out how to get the balance because this team goes where Scott McTominay goes. And if you're playing him as the makeshift left mid, more so as a diamond, but no one really on the left, it doesn't really make sense. And then he's got to do all the track back for De Bruyne because De Bruyne has no legs. So McTominay's running up and down the field. He's not in where he wants to be. He's not getting in the danger areas to score the goals. So you need to figure that out. Number three, the center backs. They are leaking goals. I get it for Torino. They only let up 1 goal, but this is a game that you should be shutting Torino out. And at the very least, if you can't score, it's a 0-0 draw. You signed Bukama. You have Buongiorno. Rachmani, I know, has been injured, but we have Rachmani. You have Juan Jesus. You have Di Lorenzo, who I'm not the highest on, but is still a very serviceable right back, right center back in this league. You were the best defense last season. What has changed? And one thing that could be is that now that we have, or Napoli have, more games, plus their practices, that Antonio Conte kills them, plus the Serie A. It's just too much. Conte can't do 3 competitions. I think I saw a stat today that he's managed 45 Champions League games and won 16 of them. So I think what we're seeing here is just very clearly who and what we've all known Antonio Conte is, and it's a one competition manager, and that's his ceiling. He can do very impressive things with teams, turn them around, but it's on one season or one competition. And so maybe they're now officially going to punt the Champions League. I thought he was kind of going for it, but who knows? But they got a lot of questions to be answered, and that's when Conte doesn't really thrive. So yeah, a lot to unpack there from me.
I think the other kind of more recency bias one, like in the last 2 games, especially, Lorenzo Luca is not it. Very much, period. He's not it. He doesn't offer anything. And this is what we've been talking about for like a year with him, is this didn't really make sense. It made sense for depth, I guess. But I would almost say like you're better off playing Scott McTominay up there as your 9 and then letting other people kind of do things around him, because at least that way you're getting him further up the field and you can maybe get somebody else on the field. How much of this is Billy Gilmore playing where Lubaka is? I think maybe a little bit. I think in the 6-2 game at the Champions League, Lubaka doesn't let that happen, to be honest with you. He gets control of the game, and it's like, we're going to relax. We're going to pass the ball around a little bit. We're not going to get out of control. I think those are 2 major injuries, and we're seeing how big of a deal that is right now. The third thing on your kind of defense pairing thing, I think you were right about Buongiorno in what you said last week. His
Back 3.
Champions League game today was abysmal. It was actually terrible. And I thought Di Lorenzo was also terrible. So those are 2 guys now. Di Lorenzo is another year older, and it's kind of always been with him over the last 3 seasons, I'd say. Things are getting worse. Things are getting worse. Things are getting worse. And it's really come through on the national team mostly. But we might now be seeing that with Napoli. So I don't know what they do without Rachmani, because Juan Jesus isn't it. Bukama, albeit, hasn't been as bad as Buongiorno, but I don't think he's been anything to write home about either. So you're kind of in a position where you're just playing these guys. You're trying to do a 3. You're trying to do a 4. I don't know what needs to change. I really don't. I don't think it's go to the 4-3-3, because I don't think that really helps. And I don't know if this is a team that can win in shootouts either. They're really not built to do that. I think without Højlund or without Lukaku, I feel like they do need one of them. So it's a little bit scary. Again, they're only in 2nd place, but you look at like some of the games they had this year, and again, recency bias. They lost to Torino. They beat Genoa 2-1. They lost to Milan 2-1. They squeaked out a win against Pisa. They squeaked out a win against Cagliari. And like, If they don't squeak out those wins, they're much deeper down the table. And I think that you have to at least consider those things because they very much could have gone the other way. If they dropped 4 points to Cagliari and Pisa, come away with two, like this is a different story. And things are getting worse. The beginning of the season started well and everybody was playing well, and things are getting worse. And you can't really point to anything getting better with this team right now, which is really worrying to me.
I will say one other thing, and that is last season, for whatever reason, maybe it was the one game a week, maybe it was because Conte had his guys more prepared, maybe it was because they were in better shape than everybody. Who knows? But a lot of luck went their
Yeah.
way. And that's okay. That it takes luck to win a Scudetto. It takes luck to win any championship, a little bit of luck. Everyone has it, right? But you go back and you look through the games where Napoli won 1-0 and a late goal by Scott McTominay or Zombo. It's like 5 or 6, maybe even 8 games.
Yeah.
Those couple bounces or couple balls don't go in the net, and Napoli finish maybe in 4th or 3rd or 5th, and they're not champions. So this season, maybe their luck has run out. They have more talent, but it's hard to have the talent mesh and play together, and they're not as necessarily lucky, or if you want to call it executing as high as the level that they were last season. And I think that that's not crazy to say or to see, because it's super hard to play at that level so consistently for such a long time, right? They did it all of last season, and now they have more games, and at some point it fades, right? So can they weather the storm enough and be in a strong enough position to make a late run to win the Scudetto or to be in the Champions League? We'll have to see. But I will say I had higher hopes for this Napoli team in both competitions. The Champions League, to get embarrassed by a PSV team where you kind of just took their best player in the summer, Noah Lang, in my opinion, is unacceptable. And they haven't had that good of a showing in the Champions League with only 1 win this season out of 3 games. So out of 9 points, they have 3. So I would have liked to see them do better. I think they have the talent to. I think they have the depth to, and it's just not clicking.
Signed too many players, which is why it's not clicking. On the other side of things, Marco Baroni, does this get him out of the hot seat? And to begin with, I will say I don't think he deserved to be in the hot seat. And he didn't deserve to get fired going back to last year. So I think 100%, yeah, this gets him out of there. Like, you beat Napoli, and like they're not that bad, right? Like they're 2, 2, and 3 from
They're
the
5
Torino
points
team.
out of last place, though. That's the one thing. But listen, I couldn't agree more with you. I think I want you to speak about Baroni more than me, because you were on him in the Lazio season, and what he did at Lazio was incredible. And it's incredible how Torino, he fell in their lap. And Torino just letting him go or firing him or sacking him this early into the season would make 0 sense. And it would be a very, very wrong move.
Yeah, I agree with you. And just to like kind of take a step back to this season, they've played Inter already, Fiorentina, Roma, Atalanta, Lazio, and Napoli. They
That's a
beat
tough
Napoli
schedule.
and they beat Roma. Like, you can't really ask much more out of that. Like, you kind of have played a lot of your really hard games for the first half of the season already, and you're in pretty good shape. And I would also say that things are getting better. What I was on him about was going to a 2-man midfield, and he's stuck with it, and it seems like it's coming out the other side. They played in a shootout against Lazio last week, and now they beat Napoli at home in a very different manner. But I have a lot of confidence in him. I would keep rolling him out there. I don't think it would make sense to get away from him, and I think it would be a massive mistake on their part.
Massive. If Torino let him go, Fiorentina need to jump on him. Maybe Juventus need to jump on him. I know that he's only managed one competition once with Lazio. I thought he did a pretty good job. I think they went to like the semifinals. They lost. It was like hailing and snowing the game that they ended up losing. But he punched well above his weight in Lazio, in my opinion. And I think he's going to do the same thing with Torino. I arguably think he already is with the games that you just rattled off that they had. So he shouldn't be on the hot seat. I don't know why he was. If he is on the hot seat, this win should have got him off the hot seat. And if it didn't and they sack him, Torino are not smart.
I would
Last thing I
agree.
want to quickly just say about this game is Milinkovic Savage. Hey, Logs, on the losing team now. Who's a better goalie? Let in 6 goals in the Champions League today
Good
or
shout.
yesterday.
Oh, there was so much bad stuff in the Champions League I could go on and on about, but let's keep it moving. Other really important game we want to spend a couple of minutes on: Fiorentina at the San Siro, 2-1 win for Milan. Some notable things in this one. Rafael Leao is back. He started this game up top as kind of the Santi Jimenez role, the number 9, with Alexis Salamakers playing as the pseudo Pulisic role, we'll call it, dropping deep. That didn't go great. They actually lost the first half. Yeah, the goal came in the first half. They were down 1-0 at halftime. Second half, both goals come from Santi Jimenez coming on the pitch, Salamakers moving off to the right, and Rafael Leao scores a banger and then scores a penalty. Do you want to talk about the penalty now, or a couple more tactical notes?
I would keep going tactical notes.
All right, so some other quick tactical notes. Samuel Ricci played instead of Adrian Rabiot, who got hurt on the international break. Our quick note there was it just didn't work. He basically did nothing. Felt like he wasn't on the field. I thought it really hurt their attack. He was very deep compared to Rabiot playing very high. So I thought that was an interesting one. The other piece on Milan side of things is Bardasagi, played again off of the left as a left wing back. I thought he had another good performance, and that's going to be one to watch for the rest of the season. From a Fiorentina side, we were happy with what Pioli rolled out there, and overall seemed like a pretty good performance. My big question mark was why he's playing Fazzini as kind of like a center forward under Moise Kean. I think that screams Albert Goodmanson personally, but I don't think Fazzini played bad. I think he played well in the midfield three of Hans Nicolucci, Caviglia, Mandragora, Fagioli. It's a good three, and I think that showed through in this game. They went back to play everybody in the right position. And I think they just had a couple things go against them. On the Rafael Leao goal, Luca Ranieri was off the field hurt for, I think, 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, whatever it was, with the bloody nose. The goal came when he wasn't on the field. And I can't say like, oh, what if he was there? But it's just something to keep in your back of your mind. And then on the PK, for me, absolutely not a PK. Call on the field was not a PK. I don't know how do you go to VAR and turn that over. It was for a hand in the face, but it's just at the point we're going to give somebody the best goal scoring opportunity just because a hand was like on his face. It wasn't like a smack. I feel like that's the bar. It's got to be a smack.
The hand was just high.
Yeah.
That goes back to the long debate of like giving someone like kind of just like you said, like you give them the best goal scoring opportunity for when they're not even in that threatening of a position. Like I totally understand when you give a PK, it's a foul in the box and they get a PK out of it when they're in a clear-cut goal scoring position, right? They should have a clear-cut goal scoring chance in order to score the goal that the defender prevented them from having by fouling him. When you have a foul of like a ticky-tack foul in the box, hitting someone in the head, or you have a guy's back to the goal and he's trying to retain possession by passing it backwards and someone sticks their foot out and then he dives, it's a PK when he wasn't even trying to score. That is what gets frustrating about this rule. I don't know how you can police it or change it, but when you award a player for diving, it only, in my opinion, makes the game worse because they're going to just dive more and more, which is already happening all across every league and doesn't like when my friends watch soccer with me, every time somebody dives, every single time they say, this is why I can't get into soccer because he barely got touched and he's crying. And I understand it. It's a frustrating part of the game. It's very frustrating. And it's because little ticky-tack fouls by diving can get rewarded like that. And I don't love it. I would like it to be changed, in my opinion, but I don't know how you can change it or can police it. So yeah, it was frustrating. But at the end of the day, Leao stepped up. You still got to make the PK. De Gea was having a pretty good game. He sent De Gea the wrong way, scoring a second goal, which has got to feel good for Leao because, as I mentioned in the intro, this was his first goal since Pioli managed AC Milan. This was his first goal in the San Siro since Pioli was the manager of AC Milan in his farewell game where he scored the goal and he ran up and like hugged him, which is crazy because Leao should be a 10 goal a game player, although we know he's streaky. But hopefully this can allow him to carry some form over because Pulisic picked up a knock just like Rabiot and is going to be out for a couple weeks.
And one thing you said before we hopped on here that I think we have to note, Santi Jimenez is important to this team. Like, all the bad things about him, he is important. Both goals came with him on the pitch. He is the person that drew the penalty. You have to play him, right? Like you have to.
You have been the one, and maybe even Logan, but in terms of tactically, you have been the one screaming like he makes the runs, this 50-yard run that doesn't get the pass, that drags a defender. He is pulling defenders with him. He's occupying space. And we saw Salamakers, who's been playing well and is they said the third highest graded player. I mean, he did not look. That's not his spot. I think
And
that is
Leao as like the Santi role is also not his spot, like
Yes,
very
not at all.
clearly.
Leao got much better when Santi came in, so I'll be interested to see when Pulisic is healthy what he does because I don't think Pulisic can do the Santi role either. I don't think Nkunku can really do the Santi role. I think he can tuck in a little bit more as a false nine a little bit better. But Santi pulling people in, occupying defenders, he's doing the leg work and not getting any of the glory. And yeah, sure, he's missing some goals, so he's eating a lot of the people's shit. That's what he's doing. He's just eating shit
Yeah,
on and
yeah,
off the
yeah.
field for Milan to be successful. And I think Milan fans need to realize that and appreciate the shit that he's eating.
Yeah.
Because not a lot of guys want to do that.
I don't think he wants to do it. He's just doing it. He just been forced into doing it. That's Milan. I mean, they're in first place. This is what we just said about Napoli. You need things to go your way to win the Scudetto, and things went their way in this game. Like they took advantage of what was given to them. They had a couple of things go their way, and you still can't knock them. They are fucking getting it done.
And I will say they defensively, when Fiorentina were on the ball, they were very strong. Fiorentina could not get in the box. The one goal came off of a corner kick that ended up just leaking out on the side, and Gosens just basically had an open net. But like other than that, if you look, I think they had one other shot that was in the actual box. Like they just couldn't really break down Milan's defense. So that once again, that goes to Allegri, his tactics. He's going to defend. He's going to make everybody better defenders because they're going to defend as a unit.
Yeah, when the whole Pulisic situation is going to be insane when he comes back. I don't know what he's going to do. He's not going to change formations, right?
No.
Yeah, so it's going to be just who's playing. It's going to be hard to bench Leao if he continues like this too. It's 2 goals, 1 game. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm very excited for this.
That's why our TikTok that we posted about this got like 25 comments, and a lot of people had opinions, and they were not aligned. It was either half of people said you got to play Leao, and the other half said Christian Pulisic has been the best player over the last 2 seasons. You have to play him.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, nailed it. The other team, we got to talk about Fiorentina. This was a loss that I can't really say like they did anything wrong, really, right? Like you lose 2-1 at the San Siro. You've had a tough start to the season. Like I don't think this is the game necessarily that broke the camel's back, and it clearly didn't because Pioli's still there. It was also his birthday the next day, so I think it'd be tough to sack him. But what has to happen for him to go or for him to stay? Because when we're looking at what's happened, we have all said he should have already been gone before the international break, right? Like I think that's pretty unanimous on this show. Their next 2 games are Bologna and Inter. And if they lose those games, you could say the same thing. Oh, it was against Bologna. Like, oh, it was against Inter. But if they don't get a win, like you have to fire him, right? This team cannot be in a position where they're this long into the season without any wins. That would be 9 games without a win for Fiorentina.
Yeah, they also have a Conference League game, I believe tomorrow before they play Bologna. So maybe that could be the camel or the what did you say the
straw that breaks the camel's
straw
back.
to break the camel's back because Fiorentina obviously love their Conference League and they must go far in it. So doing bad in it is they're not okay with. But I couldn't agree more. I don't know what they're waiting for. Like if this was Palladino, he would have been gone because they sacked him and he had a good season. And I think that they're just giving Pioli a little bit too much leash because of what he did for Milan when he won the Scudetto. But I would have sacked him really earlier for obviously the poor form, but number 2 because his stupid tattoo of the Milan Scudetto, the 19 thing, would just remind me that you're more of a Milan than Fiorentina. Like I don't want you managing this club with that fucking tattoo that you have reminding me about that. So type of play, style of play, results, and the tattoo, 3 strikes, you're out. I don't think he can go one more draw or loss and he's still there. If you draw or lose one more game without ripping off, without beating Bologna and beating Inter, you're gone.
I think if he beats Bologna.
My question to you is if they draw Bologna and draw Inter, does he still stay?
I think the Bologna game is it. If you don't get 3 points, you're done. It's
Italiano.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
And Italiano's also hospitalized right now.
I didn't
so
know
I don't
that.
know if he's going to be on the sideline, but
all right.
Thoughts
I
and
hope he's
prayers
okay.
with Italiano. But yeah, I think that's the game. I think he has to win that game or they're done. He's done. Because then you go into Inter, you're going to probably lose to Inter. And then you have Lecce, and it's like, how far can you kick the can before you make this decision.
Yeah, and then I also like you know what? Looking at their schedule, I don't hate you keep him until the Inter game, no matter the result. You sack him right after that Inter game. You give the new manager Lecce, Conference League, Genoa before he plays Juventus. And you try to get a quick 3 wins there on those lower level teams in the conference leagues to get the manager's confidence up, players' confidence up. Maybe that's what they're waiting for. Let's see. I'm calling it. Pioli gets sacked at the Inter game. I don't know who they hire, and it's because they want a tune-up game for Lecce, another tune-up game in the Conference League, and then Genoa will be a battle. But I think they beat Genoa before they come to Juve and can beat Juve because Juve suck.
With no manager. Juve. Speaking of Juve, we got to talk about that game a little bit here. Juve at Como, 2-0. Says Fabregas not on the sidelines for this game. They still get it done. Goal scorers in this one were Nico Paz, and I'm completely spacing out because I lost my notes, and Oliver Kempf. Mark Oliver
From an
Kempf.
assist from Nico Paz.
From an assist from Nico Paz. Mats, what happened here?
Well, what happened in this game was it was a picture of 2 different teams. You have, and I'm going to describe them to you right now. You have one team that has a style of play, that has a system they believe in, that has players on the pitch that know exactly where they're supposed to be, what their job is, and how to execute. And then you have another team that has no style of play. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what their job is. They don't know how to execute, and they don't know how to defend. And if I were to, before the game or even after the game, if I were to describe those 2 clubs and you saw the 2 teams playing, you would say Juventus is team 1 and Como is team 2. But that it's flipped. Como, Fabregas has these guys drilled in to the point where he doesn't even need to be on the sidelines. They were drilled in. They knew exactly how to exploit this Juventus team. Juventus played right into it, and all of the Como players knew their jobs. They had a belief. They knew exactly where to be on the pitch, and they knew exactly how to beat them. And a clear example of this was right before the Nico Paz goal. The Como goalie had the ball at his feet and was passed to him by a Juventus player. So he didn't need to pick it up. He waited for maybe 15 seconds with the ball at his feet before a Juventus player even attempted to get close enough to where he felt threatening to pick up the ball. And when he picked up the ball, every single player from the Juventus's midfield and higher was maybe 20 yards from the goalie. And then there was just 3 defenders. And he launched the throw over the entire team. And then it was one-on-one with Nico Paz and Cambiaso. Juventus they play so high up the pitch, but they don't press. So they're just standing high up the pitch. And there's cohesiveness with the midfield and the defense. They are 2 separate units. And I know for a fact Fabregas saw that and he said, this is how we're going to exploit them. They like to play high up the pitch. If we possess it out the back, they're not going to press us hard enough for us to lose it, but they're going to creep up and creep up and creep up to where their line is so high that we can cut them with one pass. And that's exactly what happened. And then obviously you have Nico Paz, which just the technique in his left foot is just insane. But yeah, this was a terrible game from Tudor, terrible game from Juventus, and a fantastic game from Como. And yeah, that's basically what happened in this game.
Yeah, Nico Paz now leads the league in total goal contributions. 4 goals, 4 assists, bringing to 8. In second is Boney on 6, which is pretty insane when you think about it.
Yeah, and I'd also thank you for breaking up that tangent. And now I'm going to go on a slightly more one, just a real quick one. Also, Juventus go down 1-0. They not one player look like we can go tie this game up. They accepted defeat down 1-0, and Como said, we can kill these guys. We can kill this game. We can go get the second goal, which is pathetic from Juventus' standpoint. And that brings up the question that we wanted to talk about, and I'll let you answer before I go because I don't want to just make this Juve a Mott's rant. But do teams fear Juventus anymore?
I think they fear Como more than Juve. I actually think that. Como now is like a formidable team, and I think Juve is just they're not really going to do anything. They'll match whoever shows up. They're going to play to that level, and that's what you get. And the thing is, this was a thing we were talking about 3 years ago probably, and it's only been getting worse. It hasn't been same. It's only getting worse. No, they're not. I was wrong about them. I had them finishing very high, and they're not going to do that. There is something wrong. Nothing's right. Like there's nothing that's right at the end of the day, other than Di Gregorio's hitting his form again. But like, can you blame Tudor 100% and say like, I think that's a big part of this problem right now. You can fire Tudor. Does that fix anything? I don't know. It could stay the same. Like, you go back to managers before Tudor with Mata, he had a lot of time, and it's still this is what it was with Mata even. So I don't know if that's necessarily the solution, and it's a very tough decision to make. I think the popular solution is firing Tudor though, and getting a guy like, but the Palladino hype is real. You spoke that into existence like a week or two ago.
But so before I give my answer to the question, because I want to answer it, I'm going to talk about what you just said. Or is he the problem? I don't think he's a fantastic manager. I don't think he's the worst manager in the world. Where I'll give Tudor credit is he's trying to change things up. He plays a 3-4-2-1. Against Como, we came out in a 4-3-3. Today against Real Madrid, we came out in a 3-5-2. So he's trying different formations, which I'll give him credit. However, his subs are too late, and what you said was so spot on. Juventus play to their competition, and that's on your manager. To get the guys to play at the same level, no matter who's playing, is the manager. Firing Tudor now, does that solve the problem? No, it doesn't. It's clearly a player problem. I'd like to go even higher and say it's an ownership management problem, because Juventus are now the Manchester United of the Serie A. We just are. We're not as bad as Manchester United. We're not as much as a dumpster fire, but no matter what manager we bring in, no matter what players we bring in, it doesn't change. So that tells me it comes from the tippity top. With that said, now going to the Tudor firing. Let's say you fire Tudor. Okay, number one, it's going to be hard to do because financially we would then be paying Mata and Tudor and then the third coach. So you got to get somebody for cheap. Spalletti, that's the biggest name probably out there, I'd say. I think Spalletti, in order for him to be successful, needs 4 months. And I think we kind of saw that with Italy. He doesn't have the guys that he can be with them and train them every day like he could with Napoli, and that's how he was so successful. So I don't know if that necessarily works. Number two, we have Palladino, who I kind of spoke into existence, as Vos just mentioned. But let's be honest, as much as well and as good and as successful as we thought he was with Fiorentina, never managed in the Champions League game. He's only managed 3 competitions once. He's kind of exactly like a Thiago Motta, and we saw how that worked out, right? At Juventus, there's pressure to win every game, and it's, can you take the pressure? And Motta couldn't really do it. I don't know if Palladino can do it because I haven't seen it, right? Another name is De Rossi. He got sacked at Roma, and Juventus's pressure is even higher than Roma, although I think Roma's pressure is very high because they sacked the club legend because he wasn't getting the job done, although there was also politics involved in that. So sacking Tudor, I don't think is going to do anything because it puts the manager you appoint in a bad spot, because now he starts 7 games into the season rather giving him the whole summer to train with the guys. So I don't know if that necessarily fixes it, but yes, that's the easy and quick solution. And Tudor is definitely on the hot seat, and I think rightfully so. Now, getting back to the question, and do you have something you want to add?
I have one thing, because I think that this is definitely a systematic issue, because the last week's game against Como, the entire DNA is gone. It's completely
for
gone.
Sure. That's a good ad. 100%.
Nobody cares.
Ever since the Dortmund game, it's been
nobody
gone.
cares what happens. Like, nobody's trying to win. When Juve was great, in every game, in every second of every game, every player on the field has some sort of battle going on, whether it's like mentally getting somewhere before the other team, whether it's actually tackling somebody, whether it's delivering a perfect ball. Juve was good because they won every single one of those battles of the entire 90 minutes. They don't win any of those battles now. Like, there is no drive to get things done. There is no drive to perfection. There's no drive for anything. And it makes me think, really crazy take, why not fire Tudor and bring back Pirlo? Like, I know it's a very weird one, because since Pirlo left, he has not done great. But you go back and look at what he accomplished there, and he was probably the best manager since they haven't won a Scudetto, right? Like, it's hard to knock that.
He was. He had the most points per game and most trophies.
Right. And I think the other thing that you can maybe make happen, Bonucci has been with the national team. Could you have like a Pirlo manager, Bonucci on his staff? Because those 2 guys at the helm every game are not going to let this happen. Like, at very least, they are going to pull guys off the field and get guys on the field that are going to work hard to try to win the game every time. And it's a weird one, but I think it would be okay if you did it and you basically give him the season, like, you're a caretaker, and like that's his title. If he overachieves, great. If not, he was a caretaker anywhere, so it doesn't matter. And I think he would maybe do it.
The problem is that he was offered a job. He took a job. He's a manager of some
Yeah, but
no name,
doesn't
no
matter.
name. Yeah. But listen, I mean, he was definitely by far the best manager since Sarri left when Sarri won the Scudetto. He won the Super Copa and then the Coppa Italia, which are the two least relative trophies, but he also averaged, as I mentioned, the most points per game. And we scored the most goals, although he had Ronaldo, but he got the best out of Chiesa. He got the best out of Wes McKinney. He got the best out of a lot of guys. So listen, I love Pirlo. He's obviously my all-time favorite player. I'm always going to welcome him. I don't necessarily think that happens. So I don't want to speculate too much on that. I'd love it though, but then maybe they just fire him again and I'll be sad. But now let me get back to my answer of, do teams fear Juventus? The clear answer here is no, they don't. There's flat out no. But I'm going to take it a step further. And now teams they see Juventus, they see either Juventus coming to their home or them, even worse, them going into the Allianz and saying, we could not beat you for 9 straight years. Now your mentality is gone. Your talent is gone. You're weak-minded. We don't only not fear you, but we're getting revenge now. We are going to salt in the wounds to make up for you dominating. Juventus gets every team's best, and that rightfully so. And they no longer fear him. Juventus comes in and teams are like, let's beat them because we couldn't beat them for 9 straight years. And they die for their badge. They want to go harder. And that's one of the reasons why just like you said, they lose every 50-50 ball. Every battle on the pitch, Juventus players lose because they don't understand that players are frustrated with Juventus. Teams are frustrated with Juventus and they want their revenge. And they're clearly getting it since Pirlo left. Juventus walks in and they are licking their chops, these teams, whether it's Parma, whether it's Lecce, whether it's Inter. They're licking their chops to show the world we can beat Juventus.
It's scary times for you. Scary times for the Juventini. The other games that happened this weekend. Parma tied Genoa 0-0. Bologna beat Cagliari 2-0 at Sardinia. Orsolini scored a phenomenal goal in this game. Like Mott said, leading goal scorer in the league. Kind of just deserves more love. So just wanted to mention that. And then Lazio Atalanta tied 0-0 in a classic Atalanta fashion. Created a ton of chances, just couldn't put one away. So we'll see what happens there. For Lazio, they, oh my God, are taking that from Bergamo. Cremonese tied Udinese 1-1. Lecce tied Sass. And Pisa tied Verona. But that was match week number 7. Speaking of things that people do not fear, the Colpi di Luna has not been good. I am scared of making a pick. And in match week number 8, we need to get a hit. I don't think I did a slump buster, but I don't even think it's a slump buster. We went 0 for 3 last week. Logs isn't here, but he sent this pick in. He's riding the Nico Paz wagon, the little lads by the lake wagon. He's got Como money line coming in at plus 100. I don't know who they're playing. I think it's
Parma.
Parma. Okay. I like that pick. I like it. I thought about that one, but the plus sign scared me.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we're cold. Just flat out, we're cold. But Como's playing hot. Parma's not doing so hot. Nico Paz, Logs trusts. I'm going to the headline game of the weekend. It is going to be Inter at Napoli, I believe. I'm going over in goals. The line's 2.5. It's plus 115 over 2.5. Napoli, we talked about it earlier, been leaking in the back. Giorno, Bucama, Juan Jesus don't really know how to play together.
Doesn't matter who it is, yeah.
Mani isn't. I don't know if he's healthy yet, if he's going to be playing. So they leak goals. They also can score. We've seen them, although they do struggle to break down a low block, they do get about 1 goal a game, maybe 1.5. And then Inter, on the other hand, seem to get 3 to 4 goals a game. So in my opinion, I think both teams will score. And I think because of that, it'll go over 2.5. And I really, really like this pick. And I don't see how this misses. I gotta get a win. I think I've lost 6 straight. I think I won the first week.
Record, right? You have the worst.
I think I've
record.
won the first week and I haven't won since.
Yeah, no, we all have bad records. Yours is confirmed the worst. But to round things out, I'm taking Atalanta. This is a slump buster. I have to say this is a slump buster. Atalanta money line at Cremonese. All they got to do is win. Minus 165. Honestly, they're too favorited. Like, I don't feel that good about this to say they're definitely going to win this game.
Cremonese has been a tough team to win.
Know,
they
I
draw.
know.
They get
I feel
draws.
Atalanta are due for goals, though, so that's what I'm going with.
I mean, I'm just looking at the table, and Atalanta are only 1 point above Cremonese, and they both draw a lot. So that game scream draw. But maybe that's why that's how you know they're going to win.
It makes sense. Whole Colby week plus 591. Probably don't bet the whole thing. Probably don't bet the legs individually. Send in your pick if you have a better one, because we need to get on the board here. But that's it for match week number 7 in this episode of Calcio Culture, guys. As always, please like, follow, subscribe on all our different platforms: Instagram, Spotify, TikTok,
YouTube.
YouTube's a big one. We need you there.
Comment. Be the Paisan of the week. Try to be the Paisan of the week, right? Sempre Milan won. Salmonade always posting. Be a hater. Be the Paisan of the week. Be a hater of the week. Be a Stunat of the week. Comment, post, like, tell us what you want us to hear. We appreciate you guys. Subscribe. This has been a good episode, Vos. Happy to do it with you.
Yeah, I was happy to be here with you. I think we're going to be back on, too, to get some mini episodes out.
Yeah, that's a good point. We want to throw out some content for YouTube. So keep an eye out for that. We will try to get those posted as soon as possible. Those are going to be fun. But with that said, great episode of Calcio Culture. We got a great weekend of Calcio this weekend. We got some Conference League games or some Europa League games tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
And Conference League,
There's some Serie A teams in there, so keep your eyes out there. But as always, Paisanos, do not be a gagoots, and Forza Calcio Culture.